What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping into Destiny 2 with some more news, updates, and roundups in this third week of Season of the Worthy. So today we are going to touch on some of the new content this week. We finally have access to the Moon Bunker, but on top of this, there are some mystery interactables and a secret space beneath the Moon Bunker, so we're going to talk about what that means, take a look at it, and of course get a bit of a peek at some of the content potentially coming down the road later on this season. But we're also going to talk about updates and things that Bungie are trekking, reintroducing seasonal exotics, potential updates to collections, trials, and justifications about the roadmap this season, as well as a bunch of future updates. And so guys, shortly we will get into the video, but just yesterday we recognized the fact that we have just passed 500,000 subscribers here on the channel, which is literally beyond insanity, guys. And of course, without your support, none of this would be happening. So once again, it's one of those things that you just can't say it enough, right? But I really do appreciate all of you guys who have stuck around since back in D1. And then of course in D2 we've got plenty of history already. And you guys have been along for the ride, and the amount of support that you have shown has been absolutely tremendous. So initially, thank you so much for that. In addition to this though, we are now launching a 500k shirt. So this one was designed by my friend Hulin, and I absolutely love the design, so massive shout out to Hulin for that. We wanted to do something pretty fun. There's an opportunity to create some cool artwork initially, but also to recognize that 500k. And so the new shirt is available right now on Teespring. There's long and short sleeve versions and all that kind of stuff. And so if you like the look of it and you want to support me here on the channel, then you can feel free to do that. I'll put the link for the store down below. And once again, I really do appreciate all of the support you guys have shown. That in itself is more than enough. So once again, I truly do appreciate it. And we'll see how we get on with those next major milestones. So guys, once again, since we are announcing the shirt right here as well, the link for that is down in the description below. Thank you all so much for the incredible support. Now though, we should get into the main subject of this video, which of course is some of the Destiny content this week. So we've got access to the Moon Bunker now, and of course we get the main access mission where we need to clear those bunkers out. But interestingly, in the mission for the Moon Bunker, players found a bizarre interactable switch. And we should mention that this is only accessible inside of the mission itself, unless you kind of go out of bounds and glitch into the area. Players are reporting that it raises a ventilation shaft when activated. I actually didn't find it on my initial run through that mission, but activating the switches at the moment doesn't appear to do anything special. However, the switch does appear to be present in the European Dead Zone and IO bunkers as well. And so seeing as it has no function just yet, maybe this is a hidden mechanic for a future quest or puzzle. That totally seems possible, but we'll have to wait and see how things progress. But then in addition, spoiler alert once again, but something we spoke about briefly the other day is a secret space in the Moon Bunker, and we can now see more of this. So thanks to my buddy Jarvinus for sending some footage over. He also has a video on how to get into the secret bunker room if you want to check that out. But you can get out of bounds and into this space, and this is immediately connected to the main bunker rooms inside of the Moon Bunker. But it's this massive space which is almost completely blacked out. So with the exception of some computer terminals, it's very difficult to see anything in the room, but at the very back of the room, we do have what appears to be part of the core of Rasputin, essentially. This was actually a space, as we spoke about a few days ago, that was conceived as Rasputin in D2, with that core being like an old satellite or something, which is a really cool idea. But obviously we never saw this in D2 until now. However, regardless, it does still leave the question of what will the room actually be for? And right now in the game, we don't currently know of any secret or puzzle that's really likely to be linked to this space. We do have another pretty big leak, and that came in the form of the data mined weapon for this season. Of course, we're still in spoiler territory, by the way, but the heir apparent was shared by Jinsa & Co., which is the Cabal-themed machine gun that we're going to get later on this season. And it has lore that refers to a potential new Cabal leader. And in itself, the weapon does look very cool, themed around a Centurion chain gun, pretty much the same type that was used in the Valis boss strike in D1. But of course, that seems more likely to be a Cabal-themed weapon or quest reward, right? So this core room could, however, link to actually destroying the Almighty. Since we're helping to arm Rasputin, it's also possible that the space could be for cinematic or story content. So we should probably keep our expectations tempered where possible, although we have seen plenty of seasonal puzzles, quests, and events, so it's entirely possible we're seeing something similar here. Now, in addition to this, players have also been talking about Siva and speculating about whether it could feature as the focus of next season. And I guess a lot of Rasputin imagery kind of reminds us of Siva by association. The image of the OG Rasputin core does kind of highlight that, but otherwise, this season we have seen a lot of Siva-themed exotic ornaments. And so players wonder if that's a hint, but honestly, for the moment we just don't know. We don't really have a lot outside of pure speculation. albeit very logical speculation by the way. It certainly isn't wild that Siva could return, but players have also discussed a possible return to Dreaming City. We have had those Aldrin teases for a little while now, so that's an opportunity that Bungie are probably capitalizing on, but also there is a pattern which correlates to the Year 1 roadmap thus far, if you align Curse of Osiris and Season of Dawn, and then Season of the Worthy and Warmind. Who knows, maybe Bungie are looking to follow a similar pattern, but once again, we have a lot of questions and very few answers for the moment. Back to the bunkers though, as we wait for the secret room to unlock, which I'm fairly confident will probably happen. If you check out Rasputin as time goes on, the Mind is actually stocking up on missiles of some sort, so you can see them being prepared right here. And of course, these will be used to take out the Almighty, which is pretty cool. And then there is some Anna Bray dialogue right here for as we close out that kind of story beat. So we can see that she's talking about Big Red being locked and loaded. And she also said that Red's new defense matrix is a scaffold. We could even plop a nice colony down in his shadow on Mars. Just talking about new settlements gives me goose pimples. And so she's actually referring to our effort to bring Rasputin back online, and how Rasputin is now once again kind of a force to be reckoned with in the system. And obviously, we have Rasputin's favor, presumably after we do all the work of getting the Warmind up and running. Now though, some content updates for this week. Outside of the story and future content stuff relating to bunkers, something really cool to point out right here would be the new Warmind cell mods that are available via the Moon bunkers. So now that that one's open, you can get the Wrath of the Warmind mod, which drops from Seraph chests. It is a random drop, but it's one of the cooler mods because it allows solar splash damage to actually produce Warmind cells, and so, for example, Sunshot is an absolute beast at generating Warmind cells. You can keep dropping them on the ground and blowing them up right here. But also you have weapons like Oxygen, the Scout Rifle, and even things like Xenophage as well. I mean, that weapon can one-shot the Warmind cells in a lot of instances, so these Warmind cell mods are definitely worth paying attention to. And this is certainly one of the stronger mods from the set, so if you pick up the Wrath of the Warmind mod, be sure to check it out with weapons that have solar explosions. Even subclasses and things like that will produce these orbs, which can do tremendous amounts of damage. Onto some Bungie updates right here. Some players have been asking about artifact power bonus in the Iron Banner, and apparently some players appear to randomly be getting the benefits of that bonus. So Cosmo said they're currently looking into it. I'm not sure whether it's something that just shows up randomly in certain games, or there is also the potential that it's just a visual bug, where the power level you're seeing in the Guardian isn't being adjusted to represent the fact that that power isn't actually there in the mode. I'm sure Bungie will give us further updates if necessary, but on the subject of previous seasons' exotics, so things like Leviathan's Breath, that was a specific example, but Cosmo said, we have plans being made on making these seasonal exotics available again, and we'll share more details when we can. So, as Bungie had said many months ago about Year 3, some of the content that becomes unavailable, or specifically the rewards, are things that are likely to be introduced into the loot pool, so for any of the seasonal exotic quests, that is looking fairly likely at some point further down the road. Players have been reporting Destiny crashing every time PS4 goes into sleep mode, so if you're running Destiny, the PS4 goes to sleep. There's a very common rate of it causing a crash when you resume from sleep, so Cosmo said it's a known issue that they're currently looking into. There was also a point by players about the collection tab, and the value of the collection tab, considering a lot of weapons and armor can't actually be reacquired with random rolls. And so Cosmo said it's a good system for cosmetics, fixed rolls, and exotics, but doesn't currently work for random rolls. It's still on our backlog to look into solving for the future, and I'll share this thread to let the team know that it's still a feature a lot of players would like to see improved. But if you have any additional suggestions, then let Bungie know. So, actually, I remember back in the Forsaken era, they first started talking about adding the ability to get randomly rolled stuff back from collections, and they're still saying it's something that they want to make work in the game, so hopefully that's an update we could potentially see in the future. Just to reiterate, Bungie now know of a bug causing the blast radius of the Fighting Lion to be significantly reduced, and they're working on a fix. And so if you find that exotic to be underperforming, that's why. And then other potential updates coming soon. Cosmo said they are basically looking into adding tie rounds back to Trials of Osiris in those instances, where maybe both teams end up dying or something at the same time, and currently the game's decision making can be a little bit iffy as to who should actually win the round. So they're looking at tuning that, but also specifically seeing if tie rounds are something they can bring back. Now, with the roadmap being a little bit lighter this season, at least in terms of what's visually represented on it, players were pointed that out and essentially said, let's assume that there'll be a bit more to the season, but obviously without getting that content, we just don't know. And DMG said that we're trying to be careful with roadmaps, leaving players to discover more content on their own, and this is an expected side effect. we've definitely seen the feedback that the season started slow, but there is indeed more coming. And he points out that this week we've had the Moon Bunker, and that Trials loot and things like that will continue to rotate over time, but then refers specifically to Grandmaster coming mid-season with Guardian games as well. And so we have at least heard Bungie say that they're trying to be a little bit more careful with what they put on the roadmap, obviously without alluding too much important info. And I mean, if you look at things right now, potentially there are 2 bits of content there, right? We've got the secret that's hidden on the moon, or at least the secret space, and then whatever it may actually turn out to be. But then also a hidden exotic quest which looks pretty sure to be coming sometime toward the end of Guardian games in early May. On feedback about swords, Cosmo said that we'll let the team know that you'd like to see sword and relic skating return in the future. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about that now that we've had those sword changes for a little while. But also on the subject of legendary lost sectors, Cosmo said that these were designed to be difficult as you power up, and there's been a lot of feedback that power doesn't matter without activities that require it. And so that is a good point, I guess, being sort of the end game, or as end game as it gets for this season, right? At least in the moment. Yeah, if we're going to have all this power and all these reasons and ways to blow things up, I guess it makes sense that some of that content should be challenging enough to actually utilize those mechanics, right? DMG said that the team is still hammering on issues with the servers, so last week they made a server-side change to help address some of the errors, but they are continuing to investigate the root cause of continued issues. So he says he's going to see if he can get an additional update on what's happening this week. Bear in mind that Cosmo pointed out, equipping new ornaments for the Seraph shotgun and SMG inside of the Season Pass actually removes its ability to produce Warmind cells. That's definitely not a good thing, so bear that in mind. And they do reiterate, after a lot of questions about how trials work, that cards are matched based on the person's card with the most wins. So if you're in a fire team, whoever has the most wins on the card, the matchmaking is basically looking for a team with that many wins as well. Definitely worth remembering if you're playing with a team that might have a different number of wins. But finally, Bungie pointed out all of the Eververse items being offered for silver only this season. So remember that this doesn't mean the items can't be sold for silver. This is basically a list of the items that are completely exclusive, and so any other items that you see in Eververse do have the potential to be sold for Bright Dust, with the exception of the items in this list. So for finishers, Energy Overload, Gladiator's Blade Rush, the Crackling Flourish, as well as the I Am the Boss Now, Thunderclap, and This Is Trials, and Stormbreaker finishers are silver-specific items. For weapon ornaments, though, it will include the Death Comes Calling and Prized Ivory. And then for emotes, we have the Blinding Imagery and Masterful Flow, as well as the Hood of the Exile Ghost Projection. And Bungie clarify that this means everything else besides these items can be acquired for Bright Dust at some point during the season. And so there you go, a bit of a list worth bearing in mind, and also remember that Today in Destiny, JP Deathblade's website, does have at least a data mine listing of all items, when they should be available, and for what currencies, so that is worth watching if you're into the cosmetic stuff. And if you want to check out some of the items we're going to get in the Guardian Games event later on this season, of course a lot of cosmetic stuff, you can also check that out on the site as well, or in my video from the weekend, which I will link down below. But for today, guys, that is everything we have to talk about in the video. We are actually still in the process of moving house right now, so we've been finishing up a lot of the house project, and we do still have quite a few things to sort out, but the house is livable and I can make the office space and everything like that work, so I am a little bit flustered at the moment, and that's why the content schedule might be a bit all over the place, but we'll get back to normality hopefully very soon. And for today, once again, thank you so much for the support in reaching 500,000 subscribers. That's just a wacky number, man. I appreciate you all very much. Remember, the link to that shirt is down below if you do want to support me here on the channel by buying one. But once again, the support you guys show by being here and watching the content is more than enough support for me, and I appreciate you all equally nonetheless. And so otherwise, whatever you get up to, guys, I hope you have an awesome day.